Good evening, everyone. We're going to call the Board of Appeals meeting to order at 5:32 p.m. Present, we have James Robinson, we have Scott Waligora, who is appearing virtually, Kevin Matthews, Chair Wendy Smith, and Stephen Isaacson. Also present, we have Inspector Burris and also Thomas Hoffman. This meeting has been properly noticed and posted according to law. And now we will move on to the second item, which is approving the minutes from March 11, 2025. And I will now turn it over to Chair Wendy Smith.
Good afternoon. Welcome to this meeting of the Village of Shorewood Board of Appeals. Item number 2 on our agenda tonight is to approve the minutes for the meeting dated March 11th, 2025. Are there any comments or suggested amendments to those minutes as drafted? Hearing none, I'll move to approve those minutes as drafted. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Stephen. Minutes are approved. Moving speedily along. Item number 3 is the village attorney to review the standards by which the Board of Appeals must abide at this meeting. The village attorney is not yet here at the meeting, so I will jump ahead and explain the standard by which we will abide. Today's matter, item number 4, is a request for a variance. As guided by our village attorney cites to Village Code 535-55, which describes the Board of Appeals' power to grant a variance. The Board of Appeals has the authority to hear and grant variances as will not be contrary to the public interest, where owing to special conditions, a literal enforcement will result in practical difficulty or unnecessary hardship, so that the spirit and the purpose of this chapter shall be observed and the public safety, welfare, and justice secured. Speak of the devil. I will pause for just a moment to allow the village attorney to get settled, and then I'll ask him to do a much better job of reiterating our standards of review.
Well, we can have a vote later on which version of that we like better. Chairman Smith?
It's like America's Got Legal Standards or something like that. Yeah.
In conjunction with that.
Yes. Did they already receive a copy? Oh, well, you're getting a duplicate copy of Attorney Bayer's memo. Take that one. Can you grab your microphone?
I will.
Yeah.
All right, my apologies. With all the construction between here and downtown, there's almost no good way to get here at this time of day. I thought I'd left early enough, but got hung up in some unexpected traffic. So just to sort of give you the 30,000 foot view, normally citizens that are appointed to different committees or citizen boards or the Plan Commission or what have you, have the benefit of participating in a yearly village-sponsored seminar where new members hear individuals talk about the scope of the jurisdiction of whatever body they're on, open meetings issues, open records issues, and procedural issues. However, we sort of noticed that, especially with the Board of Appeals, there's a lot of individuals coming on at times that aren't coordinated with the normal appointment process, so they didn't have the benefit of attending something like that. And also, I do think that the Board of Appeals, in many ways, it fulfills the most important function of any of those bodies. Don't tell the other ones I said that. But because really, there's a lot of citizens like we have here this evening that are coming forward to have either, challenging an interpretation of the village code that was applied against them, or having a petition denied, or having a permit or construction denied. And so it's a very important issue to them. So what I thought to do, and the memo that I circulated, and I'm not going to go through this whole thing right now, but I wanted to give sort of an overview of what the jurisdiction of the Board of Appeals is, the types of issues that generally come before the Board of Review, and address what the standard of review is in relation to those items that come before the board. And then also, what does it mean to be on a quasi judicial body, and how do we maintain fairness and provide an equitable experience for anybody that comes before the body, and provide what's referred to by the courts as due process. So there's a memo addressing that, and then I also enclosed a copy of the ordinances that specifically relate to the Board of Appeals. That's in Chapter 535 of the Code, Article 10, titled Board of Appeals, and it talks about the membership, terms of office, establishment and purpose, organization, and also the process. And I think, if you're on a particular board or body, it's always a good idea to have a general idea of, hey, where did this come from? Why was it created? And where do we go from here when items come before us? So I wanted to give you an opportunity to read that on your own. It's kind of a curl up by the fireside evening, with the rain and snow we're having. So, and it won't take that long to read. So the other comment I'll make is just for those residents that are attending, Shorewood is pretty user friendly in terms of access to its municipal ordinances. They are all online in a searchable format. Not all communities have that, and not all communities offer that. And it wasn't long ago that it was almost nowhere. You had to physically go, and there used to be big binders here, huge blue binder that had all of the ordinances in it. I'm not sure where they went, but everybody probably uses them online. Is there back there? Maybe, I don't know. But at any rate, that's something that you want to take a look at. So in particular this evening, there is a request for a variance. And in the memo, the pages that address the variances are kind of on page 2 and 3. So when somebody comes forward and asks for a variance from either the building code or the zoning code or what have you, what they're essentially doing is admitting that, well, the thing that I'm applying for, the request that I'm making, it's a tacit admission that it doesn't comply with the code as written. And there's some specific examples that I gave in the memo on that. For example, let's see, here we go. Here's a couple of examples of existing nonconformity problems. Let's say that, let's look at the fact that many homes in Shorewood were built before the zoning or the building code even existed. It didn't get written or adopted until the 40s. And as I can tell from the plaque in front of my house, it was built in 1926. So because of this, there's already buildings and residences that don't adhere to the zoning and building requirements that might relate to lot size, setbacks of houses from the lot line, and things like the ratio of green space to constructed pond space. So because these conditions, they're grandfathered in, so the particular lot, we're not going to make them dig up all the houses and redo the lots. So essentially they're grandfathered in. So it's sort of easy to see how any of these existing nonconformities, they kind of exacerbate the problem when an owner might decide to renovate, put a new addition on, or say build a new garage. So a specific example is, let's say a residence is built on a lot that has literally no space in an area where the code would require an AC condenser to be placed to install central air. So without coming to this board and saying, hey, can I please have a variance to place it in the side yard, an owner may be forever prohibited from converting to central air. So another example would be a plan to construct a new garage on a non-conforming lot that's smaller than required by the code. In other words, we got a small footprint for a house on a postage stamp lot. And unless the owner could encroach, say, 1 foot into the setback area, it might literally be impossible to build a garage because you could never get a car in there and access. So That's another example. So these are examples of factors that the Board of Appeals might consider as constituting special conditions associated with a property that could create a practical hardship for an owner if the code was strictly enforced as written. So the code talks about those two things, that if we want to grant a variance, there has to be some special condition or circumstance associated with a property that leads to a practical hardship, and also that the granting of the exception doesn't swallow the general rule. So the exception shouldn't swallow the rule. So before the Board of Appeals can grant a variance, it has to make two specific findings. That's what the code says, two specific findings that should be reflected in the discussion in the record and also incorporated into any motion to grant a variance. And those factors are under 535-58. And they are as follows. No variance shall be granted unless they find exceptional circumstances. And that's defined. It says there must be exceptional, extraordinary, or unusual circumstances or conditions applying to the lot, parcel, or structure that don't apply generally to the other properties in the same district. And granting the variance would not be of so general or recurrent nature to suggest that the chapter should be changed. And that's what we talked about, the exception not swallowing the rule. So that's what's an exceptional circumstances. The second element that has to be recognized and discussed in the record and reflected in the motion is absence of detriment. And here's what the code says about absence of detriment. It says that the variance will not create substantial detriment to adjacent property and will not materially impair or be contrary to the purpose and spirit of the chapter, be it the zoning code or the building code or whatever it has, or the public interest. So the Board of Appeals should discuss exceptional circumstances and absence of detriment when they're evaluating the variance request. So each evaluation is case specific and will hinge on the individual facts relating to that particular property. So then what do we do at the end? So there's a number of motions that could be granted or that could be considered. One would be to grant a variance based on a finding that exceptional circumstances exist and there's no detriment to neighboring properties. That's one avenue. Another avenue is to deny the variance as finding no exceptional circumstances exist. Or a third option is to deny the variance request as there would be detriment to neighboring properties. In other words, say it would harm the neighbor's lawn or it would harm water runoff or something like that. So essentially, those are the three things. So the most important thing to keep in mind, what we'll do here tonight is we'll swear in individuals that will offer evidence, either the applicant or someone on the applicant's behalf. If there's attorneys, we don't swear them in because they just make argument. There will be always a representative of the municipality or the inspector's office that will also be sworn to explain why a request was denied and how the code applies. You will all have the opportunity to ask questions to both parties, and then you should evaluate the evidence that's only presented here during the hearing today, not something that you may have read online or public opinion related to those. And then you should take a vote and reflect exceptional circumstances and absence of detriment in your discussion and motion. And that will be the process that this body will follow. And I will stick around after as well. And if you have any questions about other aspects that are addressed in the memo, or if you have a follow-up question, you read it tomorrow or next week or whatever, I believe my email, or I can provide my email as well. You can always shoot me an email or call, and I'd be happy to answer any other questions about the Board of Appeals process. So the last thing I want to say is I know that the pay for this position is slightly low or none at all. So, I think that no one goes into this without a sense of public duty and service to their community. And sometimes that's a thankless job because individuals are angry about whatever decision the body may have made, but know that you're all part of the process and you're part of the democratic process. And you fulfill a very, very important role for the village. And I think everybody should be commended and thanked for their service in that regard. And unless there's any questions, I'll turn it back over to the chair.
Thank you for a very thorough explanation. As to the topic of the standard for a variance, are there any follow-up questions or clarifications needed from Attorney Bayer at this time?
No.
Hearing none. All right. If by chance that we do need clarification during the course of this hearing, the benefit of having the village attorney attending the meeting is we can bother him with questions. So please feel free to ask if you have any. All right, so we will consider item number 4, a request for a variance of Village Code 535-19F, sub 4.1, to place an air conditioning condenser in the side yard setback at residential property 4225 North Morris Boulevard. Just as clarification for how this will proceed is that first I'll ask a statement from the village, and then I'll ask the homeowner to come up and make a statement on the homeowner's behalf. So on behalf of the village, we have Inspector Burris. Toya, can you swear in Inspector Burris?
Thank you. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
So again, we are here, the property owner of 4225 North Morris Boulevard is requesting a variance to set an AC condenser in the side yard setback on the north side of the house. The village received the HVAC permit application and the Board of Appeals application on March 21st. The applicable zoning regulation is 225-7F, parent 4, that states air conditioning units may not be located in front yards or rear or side setbacks. 535-19F4 of the zoning chapter states that the interior side setback is a minimum of 3 feet. Some of the conditions of this is lot. So minimum lot width is 40 feet, and this is compliant in that respect. Minimum lot area is 4,500 square feet. This lot is 5,039 square feet. There is a portion of the principal building, the house, on the northeast corner that does not meet the setback requirements and does make this building legal nonconforming. The area where the proposed condenser would be located does have a setback of 4.1 feet, as demonstrated by the survey that's included in the packet. The manufacturer requires a minimum 8-inch space between the condenser unit and the house, which would result in again, based on the width of the unit, an 8 1/8 inch encroachment into the side yard setback. Lastly, the manufacturer specifies that the maximum length of refrigeration piping for this specific unit is 131 feet. Within the packet, we have the HVAC permit application, Board of Appeals application, the manufacturer's technical guide, property survey, and some pictures.
Okay. At this point in time, we'll open up opportunity for board members to ask Inspector Burris any clarifying questions.
Will the proposed placement of the condenser extend beyond the non-conforming portion of the residence that exists?
I don't believe that it would. Let me take a quick peek at that survey. It's 2.6 feet there, so I would say no.
So can you clarify? I'm not sure that I'm following the.
Yeah, so the front corner of the house actually bumps out
Oh, I see.
and itself does not meet the minimum 3-foot setback. And so just, yeah, the question of would this condenser unit encroach beyond that
Okay.
of the bump out? I guess that bump out shows 1.7 feet. I do believe it shows width of the.
Page 6. A kind of overhead schematic.
I could,
If you can wait, we'll just go one by one, just so that. Are you Inspector Burris?
More than welcome.
Okay. 3 inches past.
But that is already a non-conforming area,
Correct.
grandfathered in, so by introducing this, now you have a new item that definitely,
Correct.
but only because of the circumstances.
Yes.
Is there a reason under the municipal code that would prevent the AC condenser from being located on the southern edge of the house?
On the south side of the house?
Yes.
The driveway runs along the south side. So I don't believe they'd have much opportunity to place it on the south side.
Okay, and per the village code, they're prohibited from an AC condenser appearing in the front yard?
Yes.
Okay.
Generally, they're located in rear yards, which in this case.
Okay, and this may be a better question for the homeowner, but the length of the refrigerated tubing, does that prevent the AC condenser from being located in the backyard?
From what I can see, I would say no. They specify the maximum length at 131 feet, and I believe the lot is 120 feet.
Okay. Any additional questions for Inspector Bruce?
There any, is there a neighbor involved in this at all that,
The village sent neighbor notices and did not receive response from any neighbors.
Any additional questions? Scott, anything from you?
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right, at this time, I'll ask our homeowner to please come up to the microphone and please provide your name, please.
Thomas Hoffman.
Thomas, can you raise your right hand? Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, now is your opportunity to provide a statement. In light of the village attorney's statement about our standards of review, perhaps you can clarify what exceptional circumstances relate to this particular property that might require a variance. But I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Well, as you can see from some of the images that were provided, I live in the proletariat section of Shorewood, where the lots are rather small, and we're all cheek and jowl together there. But it's currently the situation is that the condensing unit can be, I guess the hose length is 131 feet. Typically, the efficiency goes down the further away the condensing unit is from the furnace unit inside. I'm trying to be as efficient and sustainable as possible by putting the condensing unit, which will be mounted on my house, not on the ground, for a number of reasons. Snow clearance is a huge one, but it also gets it closer to the house. So it'll be mounted to the side of my house. It'll be essentially as close as possible to the furnace that's inside, so that there's no drop in efficiency from the condensing unit to on the typically with these condensing units, the hose length, if you think about multifamily housing, there's a bunch of condensing unit roof of the multifamily housing. So the hose length is actually going vertical. If I have not seen it go horizontal at any length like that, but it connects the condensing unit on the roof to the package unit, the unit of the building itself. What has been happening is that developers now are putting these condensing unit on the side of a balcony, let's say, which is right next to the furnace area of the unit, so that it becomes much more efficient. Some of these developers are going for LEED certification. So my thought is, because my furnace is in the middle of my house, to put this as close as possible to the furnace. The south side, Inspector Burris is correct that my driveway does go all the way. So, and it's a thin driveway to begin with. So putting a,
Any questions for our homeowner? Perhaps for clarification, I don't think I've seen one of these types of condensers attached to the actual home. At what elevation on the siding does it stick?
so it can go as high or as low as we want it to, but if I can. You'll see in the image provided, there's this water table that's probably 3 feet up. It would probably start there and go up.
Okay,
And then I can either mount it to the back of the house or to the front of the house. I was going to discuss that with my neighbor to the north and see if she.
okay. And so is there a reason why it can't be attached to the south side of the home? If you're trying to target the center of the home, is there a reason why you pick the north side as opposed to the south side?
Again, if you look at the image of the south side of the house, it's very narrow. And the driveway goes all the way up to the house. So, and it actually narrows at that point even further to the southwest corner of the house.
So is the concern that your car will hit the,
Yes.
okay. Have you been told by your contractor that there's any reason why you cannot have it in the backyard?
It's the efficiency. I
Okay.
discussed that with him and he said, yeah, the efficiency goes down further it is.
Okay.
Do you have like an indication of what the efficiency reduction is percentage wise?
I don't have that.
Is your house currently air conditioned?
I lug air conditioners and put them in the window and take them out.
Okay,
I just turned 65 and I've had enough.
understood.
So
Is there-
there isn't currently a air conditioning condenser box
There's
thing
not.
on the property?
No.
Okay.
Just one clarification to make sure. Are there areas, property, other opportunity?
I have a deck on the back. No, the easy answer is no. I could put it on the front, but of course that would require a variance or the side.
And you're starting with a grandfathered
Correct.
question. I think it's
I can't.
the area that you could do this with.
Stephen, do you mind putting your microphone a little
I'm
bit
sorry.
closer? I don't think that Scott can hear you.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
All right. The only, just again, for the technical answer would be, you could do this without a variance, but you would have to invade your deck and that would not be,
Yes,
that's the
The-
only
the-
other option.
right. And there's a series of windows plus French door in the back.
All right.
Any additional questions for our homeowner? Hearing none. Any further statement that you'd like to make before we close the testimony component of this hearing?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, you can have a seat. All right, at this time, I will, for the purposes of entering into a discussion phase amongst board members, I will make a motion. Let me make sure I phrase this correctly. I'll phrase this as a motion to grant a variance of Village Code 535-19F sub 4-1 to place an air conditioning condenser in the side yard setback at residential property 4225 North Morris Boulevard, as we find that there are exceptional circumstances relating to this property and an absence of detriment to neighboring properties. Do I have a second on that motion to enter into deliberation?
Second.
All right, thank you. Now is our opportunity amongst board members to discuss whether this request meets that criteria, following which we'll vote on the motion either to approve or to deny the variance. Does anyone have any initial impressions as to whether we can make a finding of exceptional circumstances and an absence of detriment? It does, on the second point, it doesn't sound like we've received any neighboring property statements that they are in opposition to this proposed variance. So I suppose we're most focused on whether there are exceptional circumstances here. Does anyone have any initial impressions?
Well, again, yes, I think that as we just discussed a minute ago, there is an opportunity to place this unit, on the property that is not requiring a variance, but I think the homeowner explained that it would be great sacrifice. And that was my question. Other than that, then the only other place you could do it is where they're proposing, practically. Unless somebody else has a different thought about it.
Any other thoughts? My impression is a little bit tricky in that I understand that we've had many people come with arguments based off of just energy efficiency. And I think we all have a goal of being as energy efficient as possible. But if the AC condenser, if it can be placed in an alternative area, the fact that it is slightly further away from the furnace doesn't really convince me that that's exceptional circumstances. The question, though, is Stephen's point of whether it's feasible to place it in an alternative area, such as the south side of the home or in the backyard. So those are my thoughts initially.
Yeah, my initial thought is that it could be placed here to have maximized efficiency, but what sort of efficiency is being lost by placing it where it wouldn't need a variance? And we don't really have any information as to how that plays out, either in terms of effectively cooling the house, or if it's going to be an unreasonable increase in cost to the homeowner, or burden down the power grid or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. Any other thoughts? Are we ready to proceed to a vote on the motion?
Yes.
Scott, do you require any deliberation? I don't want to leave you out of this.
Oh, no, I didn't have anything.
All right. At this point in time, I guess we're proceeding to a vote. Toya, can you call a vote?
Mhm. James Robinson.
Should I reiterate the
Oops.
motion?
I could.
Okay.
Chair Smith moved to grant the variance of Village Code 535-19F, parent 4, parent 1, to place an air conditioning condenser in the side yard setback at residential property 4225 North Morris Boulevard, as it was found that there are exceptional circumstances and no detriment to neighboring properties.
Is there a second?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Second.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I could do the roll call vote
Yes,
whenever
please.
you're ready. Okay. James Robinson,
I would deny.
Scott Walligora,
Hey,
nay or yay?
yay.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Yes. Kevin Matthews,
Yay.
Stephen Isaacson,
Yay.
Wendy Smith.
Aye.
Motion carried 4-1.
Variance is granted. All right, that concludes all matters on our agenda. I will move to adjourn the meeting. Is there a second?
Second,
Second.
Oops.
pick one.
Are you good, Toy?
The meeting has been adjourned at 6:07 PM.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.